through my veins. On the pitch where the glory remains. The cockerel stands brave on the crest. North London pride, this ain't no jest. From lane to the new shining ground. Echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time. We march on through grit and grime. Oh, Tottenham, Tottenham, till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh, Tottenham, Tottenham, till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
Hi, guys, and welcome to THFC Till We Die, home of Tottenham past, present, and the exciting future, hopefully under Thomas Frank. And hopefully we might buy some players before the end of the window, which is very sort of unlikely at the moment. We do have breaking news, that is that James Maddison is probably out for the season with an ACL injury, which has now left us very, very unprepared with the Premier League coming up in, I think, a week's time. Because I think the Super Cup is is a week tonight, and then the Premier League starts a week on Saturday. So we've got the guys on tonight to talk all things transfers. Where have we gone wrong? What needs to improve? And who do we need to buy? And it is important that Tottenham now get active with 25 or 24 days to go. Joining me tonight, of course, is my normal co-host, Tequila. How are you, Tequila?
All right, but are you?
I'm all right. Thank you very much. And of course, down below me, making his debut tonight is Sam. Sam, how are you? I know people have seen you on the Irish Hotspur, and you are in the same WhatsApp group for FC 25 or soon to be FC 26, which I will be getting involved with when it comes out. But how are you, Sam, this evening?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to hear you getting back involved, mate. That's for sure. We need some more bite in there. That Palhinha signing, if you will.
You just missed me getting sent off after about 2 seconds of the game. That's what I bring. I just get sent off. 2 minutes getting Dermo's off. That's it, off the pitch. But yeah, I will be back. And of course, Luke from Spotlight on Spurs, which is a new channel. We will be putting his link in the description below and in the channel tonight. And also, Sam, wherever you are, I think you're on X, aren't you? Maybe send me a link as well. And we'll put that in as well. Luke, how are you this evening, sir?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm sure we'll get into it. I'd be in a much better spot if we was making some signings left, right, and centre. But as I said, I'm sure we'll discuss it.
Yeah. Look, I want to welcome a few people in. Welcome the members into the chat. I want to say big up to Josh. Pavitt is become a new YouTube member. Big up to you, Josh. Thank you very much. Who helped me put my new studio? Who advised me on my new studio? Helped me out where I'm not technically. When it comes to tech, I'm useless. So he advised me and he helped me along the way. It's an absolute. I love it, really do love it. But also, I've got a special surprise for you guys for the watch along tomorrow. We have gone up another level for this season. So tomorrow for the watch along, you were fine. Big up Simon Cohen. Big up to you. Big up to Giant 68 as well. Big up to Emerald Panel and chat. Big up to Mr. E. Giant saying Sonny's move to LA has been confirmed. Tequila, how do you feel about Sonny moving to LA? Do you think for him, for his career, that it's a good move for him now to go into a different league where he can prepare properly, I think, for the World Cup in 2026?
I don't think it's going to do his football career any favors. It might do his bank account some favors, and the climate's also a little bit better than old Blighty. So no, I mean, I don't. No one can be angry at Sonny making this move, and from all intents and purposes, it was his decision and not ours. So if the player wants to go, as with all of them, then let him go. Sorry to see him go, but his best days are behind him. But and he'll be remembered fondly. So it's a kind of a win for everyone, really. I mean, the fee could be maybe, what is it, 15 million?
Yeah. $22 million. I think he's the most expensive player bought in MLS. I think something around them.
I mean, I suppose you take that. I could maybe push it up a little bit more, but overall, I don't think there's nothing to complain about, really.
We were offered 40 million for him in by the Saudi teams, and we didn't take it.
That seems crazy for a 33-year-old for 40 million.
Yeah, I know. What do you guys think, Luke and Sam? What's your things on Sonny? And we will end off on our thoughts on Sonny and try to end off on a sort of reminiscence on Sonny. But what's your thought on Sonny's transfer to LA, guys? I mean, Sam, do you want to go first? What's your thought on it? On him going?
I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sad. A few tears were shed over the weekend when it was announced. I'm man enough to admit that. I've said before on other shows, I was like 15 when Son came to Spurs. So, he says that he came as a kid. I really was a kid, and like I feel like we grew together. I'm happy that you mentioned about the Saudi thing. He didn't want to go to Saudi, so as you said as well. Like I'm happy that it was his choice to go to LA. There was clearly discussions kind of in the background happening like well before this stuff was happening, because I feel like you would want to, leaving a place after 10 years, you'd want to have like a big pick of where you'd want to go, so I can imagine they've been thinking probably like since the season ended, they've been looking and have settled on LA. I'm sure there's a Hugo Lloris influence somewhere along the line. Who wouldn't live in LA? It's a bit better than the grey skies of the August London summer, but 15 million, I can't really complain with that. He's 33 in the last year of his contract. I know it's not Harry Kane 100 million levels, but I'm happy, as I said, that it's where he wants to go. And look, I think that personally, I thought that Frank was going to reignite something within him. Maybe it wouldn't be the Sonny of old. But I don't know. I'm a bit disappointed, and I do hold a slight grudge towards Ange for deploying Son so wide, so we didn't get that last couple years. But ultimately, it's been an incredible 10 years. So thank you, and hopefully he wins some trophies in the MLS.
Hopefully. And you, Luke, the Sonny transfer, how do you feel about it? For me, it's like when Glenn Hoddle left Tottenham to go to Marseille, go to Monaco. That's what this is a bit like this for me.
It was always going to be sad no matter when it ended. It was always going to be at that point. However, Tequila mentioned it earlier. I think it was the right time for every party. just winning the trophy, kind of going out. My fear, and I agree. I think that if Frank would have kept him for an extra year, I think he would have been able to offer something. That probably wouldn't have been every single game. It probably wouldn't have been for 90 minutes, but I think he would have offered something. However, if it didn't quite work, I didn't want it to be a Lloris, a Dyer, even Ben Davies, where the fan base are just on him constantly and only remember the last few years when, if you go back 4 or 5 years, he was sensational at times for us. So I think it makes sense for all parties for it to be now just after the Europa Cup win, when best to bail out. And as you said, he's probably prepping now. We'll be in America. He'll be prepping for the World Cup. So I think it made a lot of sense, although still very, very sad, of course.
It is. It really is. Look, I want to start on the interview by Daniel Levy. I know Tequila's. I know in WhatsApp groups he has put it. And do you know what? I do have to agree in what he says. I called it last night a PR stunt. That's what I thought it was. Simon Jordan had his thoughts on it. So Tequila is the Simon Jordan of this channel, as we like to describe him. Tequila, in a nutshell, was there anything in that interview for you that you thought, okay, he might be doing something different here? Or was it all from start to finish, 39 minutes of Gary Neville not asking him the right questions?
I think when he was asked about the other teams in the Premiership, I thought that he made some valid points. He's obviously a very intelligent man. I don't think any of us can ever say anything differently. He is. Obviously, he is, especially when it comes to business. But it's when he started talking about Spurs, that's when I started having issues with him. Because as far as I'm concerned, like I'd say a good 95% of what he said, I thought he was lying. And the evidence is kind of over the large number of years. I won't say really what I want to say to him. I'll get us thrown off. You already heard what I had to say in the chat when I was watching.
No, you called him. No, you called him out for it, and I think you're right too. I think personally, look, for me, I think all that was on about was the stadium. I don't think we know about the stadium. We've been there nearly 5 or 6 years now, so it's not something that he can be boasting about. I mean, guys below, I mean, look, Tequila is rightly not happy. He says it's lying, and I think he might be spot on with that. What did you think of it, Luke, of that interview? What was the first thing that came into your head after watching Gary Neville talk to him for about 39 minutes, which we never will get back again of our lives?
And by the way, the first question about the actual football and stuff on Spurs didn't come till like the last 10% of the actual interview.
I know that.
Yeah, I took it in a slightly different way, just on the basis that I'm glad we're now hearing from him, because we haven't heard much for 25 years, and some people will probably be happy with that, because when he does talk, how much truth and do we actually get? But I'm glad that there does seem to be a deviation away when you actually think about it. Since Vinay has been appointed, we've had 2 somewhat communications from the club, with Levy being at the forefront of it. So that for me is a sort of change. Now, again, what was said in it, a lot of it is, we'll back it up in the transfer market, essentially. If we go and sign 3-4 players at 50 million each, then you can go with it. That actually what he said might be correct. Whereas if he doesn't, then you just go, it's the same as the last 24 years. So I completely understand. And I think you're 100% correct in that. It's a tough one in terms of he's not going to give too much away. These interviews are not a sit down, let's go through the whole life. So it's we were never going to get what we wanted. We was never going to go into far details on everything and understanding of everything. And also, I think it was heavily edited. I think that was probably an hour and a half interview, and it was cut in because of certain parts. And I think you're right, especially when it comes to what other people are doing. I think he's so intelligent on that. I think a lot of the stuff he said, I was like, that's exactly where I share the same sort of views. But then, as I say, when it comes so close to home in talking about Spurs, essentially it's back it up, and it hasn't fully been backed up. So therefore, you don't believe it.
No, it hasn't. Big up to Kuva is in the house. Big up Kuva99 says, big up everyone. I haven't listened to the Levy interview. I won't waste my time. 25 years of false dawns has been plenty to digest already, which is probably true on that. Sam, look, he did talk about the not wanting football regulator in the game. He did also talk about the Manchester City thing going on too long. They talked a lot about the stadium, and if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times from Gary Neville. I'm on the task force to build our stadium. I don't give a shit about Manchester United Stadium. That's nothing to do with us. You're there to ask. I mean, I'm glad there's a Simon Jordan interview coming out, I think in the next week or so, before Tottenham played the Champions League final, the Europa League final. And apparently he's pretty hard-hitting.
It's quite an old interview, though, because Simon Jordan said that this has been in the works for a year or something. So he must have taped it a year ago. So it's going to be very out of date.
It is going to be out of date, but I would be interested to see what Simon does ask him, actually. But Sam, where are you on it? Where are you with it? I mean, do you agree with Tequila? Like, it was a load of lies. We know what he's like. He's never going to change. He's never going to buy money. He's never going to buy players. Or are you with some of the fans that think, okay, I liked it? Where are you on it?
Well, I think it's important to kind of accept what it was, which effectively was a puff piece, right? You know, Gary Neville was never going to be allowed to interview Levy if it wasn't painting him in a more positive than negative light.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately both sides had an agenda, right? You know, Levy and Spurs, they want to look good. And then I think that Neville, you know, he said it multiple times about being, you know, in the works with the United Stadium. Obviously, he co-owns Salford City. Yeah. So I'm sure that he probably is quite intrigued to pick Levy's brain and maybe even like kind of take him on as a mentor, you know? So he's not going to, I don't think he's going to be asking questions that, you know, diminish his chances of that. Obviously, this is just speculation from me. But what I will praise Gary Neville for slightly, maybe praise is too strong a word, but he said a few things. One that I mainly remember, he didn't ask hard-hitting questions, right? But he alluded to things like, there was one part in the interview where he mentions, he kind of mumbles his words, but you know what he wants to, he wants to say it. And he says about, oh, you know, it's kind of levied at you that you don't spend money. And you can see that Levy sort of like eye rolled that, and then he had to sort of come out swinging a little bit. And it's not that he was necessarily like, so Levy, why don't you spend any money? But it's like, I'm like mentioning this so you've got a chance to kind of like say your piece. I'm not going to push, but like it's for you. And you know, when I saw that the interview was coming, and obviously it was released during the day, and I'd seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, what a crock of like, you know, poo. It's just a Levy love fest with everything we've heard 1,000 times, blah, blah, blah. So I was kind of skeptical about watching it. And then, I don't know, I was just chilling in my room and listening to other stuff, and it came on in the queue. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'll listen to it. And to be fair, I was actually like, I took it for what it was. And I was actually kind of interested by it. Not like enthralled, but you know, I was interested in his stuff about the other clubs. I was interested just how he would be like in general. He seems like a very like defenseless man. So maybe when he was talking about I know he's not defenseless because he's got the money, but in terms, he looks very vulnerable, you know. And when they were talking about the protests, I did feel like kind of bad for him. And my stance on Levy is sort of like, I can take him or leave him. I don't absolutely despise him, and I don't love him either. You know, he's been the chairman pretty much my entire life. Like I'm 26, so you know, I was 1 when they took over or whatever it was. So I know no different. Obviously, I can look at other clubs and see these super clubs spending state money, but you know, ultimately, I can only judge him on what I see. And you know, the last 5 years, I have really been leaning more on Levy out. But you know, the trophy, and call me weak or whatever, but the trophy has kind of softened my blows on that, because you know, he has delivered us a trophy, and it was a big trophy. It's not enough. And look, this as this sort of theme of the show, this transfer window is going to be it's going to be big for us, and he's come out swinging, saying he wants to win this, he wants to compete on all fronts. And you know, if that news about Maddison is true, then we're going into the season with 110 basically, and he's injured, so he's not going to hit the ground running. I know people say that Kudus can play there and Odebear's played there, but I don't think either of them are the 10s that we need. Look, we'll see. But he needs to back it up now, and I think that a lot of fans watched that interview basically wanting him to say, here's what transfer we're signing, here's this, here's that, but they were never going to say that stuff. They're never going to get into the nitty gritty of the stuff going on behind the scenes, and we'll probably never know what players we were interested in that turned us down, or players that were interested that we didn't want, or whatever. So I try and just take everything at face value. And ultimately, I thought it was a 6 out of 10 interview, like nothing special. Although I did really like that one point that he made, and I'm surprised that they've not made a bigger statement about this, which was that the floor was made out of the old White Hart Lane, which I thought was a very nice touch. And everyone I've spoken to, no one knew that was a thing. So I'm not sure why they didn't. I feel like that. I know it's not a statue, right? But that's the kind of thing that people. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that people like want the club to, hark back and admire the history and the heritage of like our once great club.
Yeah, I mean, Tequila, look, I get it, right? It's been a frustrating window. We haven't got the players that we've wanted. We had the Morgan Gibbs White thing, which ran until the Forest owner did what he did. We were offered Vacevic early in the window, and we turned him down. I don't know whose brainwave idea that was, because we know we need a striker. So, have Spurs failed? Is it Spurs' fault? Is it Levy's fault that we failed to land these targets, or should the blame land at Langs and Langsdor for not getting these deals over the line?
I think everyone's got a part to play in it, really. I mean, we don't know, like you said, we don't know how many players were offered to Spurs. And once Levy found out how much the player wanted for their wage structure, because that's what he cares about so much, keeping that wage structure under control. I'd imagine at least 50% of the players you might have been offered probably fell down at the first hurdle because of the amount of money they probably wanted. Because you know as well as I do that Levy does not want to pay certain amounts, and he doesn't want to get into something I call favoured nations type thing, where one player's making this, and then once another player finds out how such and such is making, they'll want a new contract, and it gets out of control. And that's the worst thing that Levy wants. So he's playing under these really stricter than most clubs, even the smaller clubs in the Premiership. I forget the number, Dermo. Maybe where is it like we're the third or something when it comes to our wage to profit money ratio we get?
Yeah, I think we're 42%. We're top 3, but you got Aston Villa 10th at 96% of wage of things.
So that part is on Levy, because Levy doesn't want to break the wage structure. And the only players he was willing to do it for was obviously Kane. He was willing to do it for Sonny, and for some reason he wanted to pay German fella. Remind me, them. I've tried to block him up in my head. Yeah,
Werner.
£180,000 a week apparently, which is insane for that player. So, I mean, the thing that bothers me most is that I'm not saying anyone here is surprised, but is any of us who've been watching Spurs longer than like 10 years, for example, we know how the club operates, we know how Levy operates. And what I don't like, and I'm not taking shade at anyone who said this, but all I heard from multiple places was going to be different this year. We're going to get investment this year. This is going to be different this year. Levy's on his way out this year. Everything's ended up the same. It's true. So why be surprised? It sounds jaded, and I admit to being jaded, but how can you not be when this has happened so many times? I mean, how many times can you get your hopes up to be dashed, get your hopes up to be dashed, get your hopes up to be dashed? At some point, you have to say, okay, well, I'm not going to play that game anymore. I'm not going to believe you anymore.
Can I just come back at that a little bit?
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I've said on many a show that, I don't believe the club will do certain things, because I understand how they operate. As you said, having watched them for over a decade, you can kind of figure out what their play style is. But for me, there's still to say I'm not sure that I agree that it's already happened, right? I feel like it's difficult for and this is not an excuse for the club, but I think it's difficult for the club to immediately turn everything around after one trophy win, right? It's not like everything can happen overnight. You can see they're bringing stuff in. So there is clearly a difference behind the scenes going on. We've seen Donna Cullen leave and new faces be brought in to replace like her. But ultimately, there's still a month left, and yes, they might be acting slow, and I'll complain constantly if we don't sign someone before the Super Cup, because what are we doing? But there is still a month left, and if they can provide us, I'm not willing to write the window off as a failure just because it took a long time to get the targets. So if they don't, as they didn't last season, and I was fuming last season, I'll be fuming again. But for now, I feel like we just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, look, where are you on it? Are you in Tequila's sort of camp that, look, enough's enough? Are you in Sam's sort of camp where, look, he agrees with Tequila, but he's going to wait until the end of the window? Look, managers weren't back last summer or January under Lang. You look at the Paratici windows and the players that we bought in under Paratici. The first season under Conte, we bought Bentancur and Kulu. Then you look at that summer window: Vicario, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogi, Porro, Bissouma, Papa Sarr. The majority of the squad we've got now. And then you look under a Lang window and you look at the likes of players we bought in: Odegaard, Tell, Werner. I mean, me and Tequila did the show the day we signed Solanke. And we both said we feel very underwhelmed by that signing. I still think it was a rush signing because it was near the start of the season and somebody thought we have to buy somebody. So where are you on it all? Where are you on this with the transfer window?
It's a tough one because there are so many correct reasons on both sides in terms of it being negative and positive. I think that we've taken too long, but could the reasoning be that Frank has decided that actually I need to see these players? Nobody played to a decent level last year, so let me see them and I can evaluate and then I can kick on from there. But then you look back at the behaviours that have happened previously, and we always seem to act late, other than a couple of windows as you mentioned. But them specifically, a couple of them, I'm mainly thinking around the Vicario, Van der Ven. There was an expectation within the club that Harry Kane will be leaving, and they tried to put it so that wasn't happening. So outside sources didn't go, well, if you're losing Harry Kane getting 100 million, we want X, Y, and Z. So around the whole Ange sort of when he first started, Ange Postecoglou, a lot of people said he was majorly backed in that first transfer window, but actually we was replacing the players that needed to go out the door. So it was more like a club thing. Like we were backing ourselves as a club that we needed better players, not just a manager. And then you're right. Last year we signed one player that improved our 11. All of the rest of the players that were brought in were young players that we weren't looking to improve immediately. It was a 2, 3, 4 year plan, and that's part of the problem with Lange is his remit seems to be you almost have to judge him in 5 years because he's not been bringing in ready players right now. He's bringing in players for the future. So it's really, really hard to judge who's steering the ship. Should we judge him now? Should we not judge him? Because what happens if Archie Gray and Bergvall go on to become two of the best central midfielders in the world? Then this looks like a great window for Lange. It looks like he knows what he's talking about. Whereas right now, everyone's going, well, hang on, we spent 40 there, Oda Bears 30. So it is a tough one. The problem is that we've had it for so long now. How long are we supposed to actually wait for this sort of thing to turn around? So I did think at the start of the window, when you go and you get Kudus and then obviously Morgan Gibbs-White within the space of 2 days, that was a turning of the tide. We was going in a different direction. Morgan Gibbs-White obviously didn't get over the line. So I think both is right. But I think the thing is that unless we get to the end of the transfer window, I just use it as like a Kudus level. If we go and sign 2 other players of Kudus level, that means we've brought in 4 this summer. That's pretty good. I know that you can look at your Liverpools and things like that, but what they're doing right now is just crazy. So that's pretty good to bring in 4 first hit. So it is unfortunately one of them where a bit of patience is required, but we're just going to go back to, well, we've been patient for 24 years and is it really going to change? So I completely agree with both in a way, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, Tequila, look, it is 25 years. There was plenty of free sign strikers up this summer. We had Calvin Lewin, I know Jamie Vardy, and players like that were free. As I said, we're offered Vajovic up front. We missed out. We got Wazza, who wants to leave Brentford, and we're not going in for him. I'm surprised we didn't because of his links with Thomas Frank. We had the player that joined Manchester United, Mamboa, but he wanted to go to United anyway. Why is it such a hard sell to kill it to get players to come and join Tottenham?
Well,
is it wages only?
Before I answer that, I want to just mention something Sam said about getting 3 or 4 more players of Kudus' quality. Yeah. The only thing I'd say to Sam is, when's the last time that you can remember Tottenham spending 50 million on 4 players in one window? On each player?
It was. I said it, but no. I agree, but I didn't. If you'd have said to me at the end of last season that we would go and we'd get, I know the Morgan Gibbs-White deal didn't get over the line, but that for me is not. Tottenham may have done something wrong, but the expectation was that deal was being done. Everybody expected that to actually go through. So I'm not going to place the blame there on Tottenham. They could have probably acted differently, but I think the deal fell through because of Forest essentially. So I would never have said that we would go and target Nottingham Forest's potential captain and a West Ham player. So I completely agree. I'm not saying that this is an expectancy. I'm saying that we went and
if it were to happen, you mean? If it were,
that's what we need to do. That's what's needed.
Yeah. So it's like I mean, I think it's fair to say that if we had, and I'll use the word had because as you guys have said, the window isn't over yet. But if we had some, there would be some fans. I'm not going to say none, but I think most fans wouldn't have a problem with this window. Yeah. To answer your question about the strikers demo, I think if we would have brought in Calvert-Lewin, I think the fan base wouldn't have been too happy. He would be a Levy signing because he would be free. He'd want higher wages because he's going to be a free, to be honest. But we wouldn't be happy. Let's be honest. If we got Calvert-Lewin in, we would be complaining. We probably would, saying that he's not good enough. He's not good enough. Everton fans criticised him for not caring about football. He cared more about his modelling and doing all this other stuff. And I've heard all the criticism. So if we signed him, the fans wouldn't be happy either. The chap from Brentford, we had a discussion before, Dermo. I think Levy doesn't want to make these older players. Now, I know that it's not old, but there's not going to be any resale value. And we just don't make these signings, bruv. We just don't. Yeah. Because there's no resale value. Even though he could be good for a year or two, we don't do it unless we can get a real cut price on him. And a cut price, I think, was he 35, 40 million that Brentford went for him?
That's it.
They ain't a cut price for he's 29, I think, 29-year-old. Yeah. They ain't a cut price, so ain't going to do it. So then you see the options start getting more limited. So who do we go in for? The chap who just joined United, Sesko. Would that have been an option for us? Newcastle wanted him as well, but we would have had a shot, right? He chose United. Who won the Europa League again? Was it us or United?
I'm beginning to think it was United that won the Europa League, to be fair, not us. I mean, look, we, I don't get Levy's thinking on this window. I really don't. He had an opportunity after Champions League final to build on that. He's had an opportunity now to build on this after Europa win league. So look, I'll start with you and I'll go around the houses the other way. What is Levy thinking? What is he? There's 25 days to go or 24 days to go. What does he have to do for you to say, do you know what? Okay, I was wrong about Levy in this window.
As I said, there needs to be a couple more that come through the door that are Kudus level, that come in and immediately improve that 11. That's what's required. But again, this also comes back to when you bring in Frank, you bring in all the different coaches, you change your recruitment staff, then this is another fallback that people don't understand about constantly changing your managers. This is another fallback of it. So if, for instance, and people won't want to hear this, but if Ange was still here, then all of his system and what was going on behind the scenes would have already been picked. They'd have already had an understanding. Whereas when Frank comes in, he's dealing with different level of players. So he has to come in and work out where this person's going to improve. Where is this player going to play? Obviously he plays different formations and everything else. So this is another thing that if you're bringing in new people to go to a new system, to play a new formation or a new way of playing, then your targets are going to change. So
Yeah.
that's one of the problems with constantly changing again. And for me, it almost feels like what we need to do at the very top is decide a way of playing. This is how we want to do it. And then you bring people in that fit that. So whether it's your manager, your players, whatever. So then if a manager does leave, you're not constantly looking to revamp the whole squad again.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem, is that we've changed manager, things have changed, tactics are going to be different. And we're now looking at signing them ready-made players, if you like. So that's what's needed as far as I'm concerned. If we don't bring in another 2 players that are first team players, then I think that we're far behind. I will caveat that and say that I don't think many people thought Liverpool, United would have the sort of years that they're having. Like, to not get Europe and go and spend 200 million on a new strike force is just unprecedented. That does not happen. And then Liverpool winning a league and then going and signing, is it 5 players that virtually go in their first 11? Again,
250 million they've spent this summer on players alone. United have spent 250 million. We've just spent 60 million.
Yeah,
I've got a theory on Liverpool.
That's the problem.
I got a theory on Liverpool. It's because they didn't spend anything last year.
Yeah, of course
yeah, they didn't actually.
So they literally, this is 2 summers worth of money that they're spending, because they didn't spend anything last year.
And it also backs up my point that when he went in there, okay, I've just lost his name, but when Slot goes in there, he's at a different level, obviously, to what Spurs are. He went into a team that were pretty good and in top 4, whatever you want to call it, but he went into a good squad, and he went, no, do you know what? I just need to work everything out for myself. I'm sure he didn't go in going, I don't want anyone. No, I don't want no. I'm sure he went in and went, let me just see where we're at, and actually these players are decent. And then after a year, he's now gone, right, I know where my problems are, and then they've gone and signed the players. Obviously, Spurs are not at that luxury. We can't sit there and go, we'll just stick with this squad for a year. So it kind of backs up what I'm saying, that some managers, they just need a bit of a chance, but then that delays everything. And we're so used to missing out on targets because we operate so late in a window. Is it all just, it's all circumstantial where it's all fell like that? Again, the problem is you'll only know and when you hit the end of the transfer window and you go, nope, we've been had again.
Yeah, at 7 o'clock on the 1st of September, I think the pitchforks and the hammers and everything will be out, and the lights will be outside Tottenham Stadium. Right, guys, I'm going to give you each a part of the team, and I want you to work. I want your answer really to it is what we need to improve. So I'm going to start with you, Sam, because you were next in line. I'm giving you attack. Tequila, I'm going to give you the defense. And Luke, I'm going to give you the midfield. Now, I'm going to start with the goalkeepers. We don't need to change anything there. We've got Vicario and we've got Kingsley. I think 2 decent goalkeepers. Pissed off that we sold Keeley to Luton for $1 million. I think Keeley would have been a lot better than Brandon Austin. I do know the goal he conceded against Wickham, that just told me everything I need now about Brandon Austin being a goalkeeper. I think he's woeful. And how that lad has had no sort of gumption to go out somewhere and continue his career. He's been happy to sit at Spurs for years and just pick the wages up when he's getting at Tottenham and just getting the odd game here and there and picks up a Europa League's winners medal from last season is beyond me. It really is beyond me. But for you, for attack, Sam, Sonny's gone. We do need another striker. If you were Daniel Levy and Lang, which player would you be going after to strengthen our attack?
I think it's difficult, right? Because are you like including a attacking mid in okay.
Forward line completely?
Okay. Well, I think the obvious one, and I'm sure it's kind of the top of everyone's list, is probably Eze. He's still there. There's still a deal to be done. You know, we've seen so many players snatched from us at like crucial points that it's about time we go in and inflict some pain. We're the the champions of Europe, for crying out loud. You know, when else can we sort of flex? So I think you sign Eze because obviously he's attacking mid like option, and we've got no other option, so he would be the attacking mid. But ultimately, like when other players come back, or if you need to change it in game, he can play on the wing. he can play a little bit deeper in midfield if he has to. I don't think he's obviously not as strong defensively, but can sit in that sort of 8 role that we've seen before. And then I don't know. I feel like we kind of. It looks like these rumors for Leao and Rodrigo, right? And this isn't me saying that I believe the rumors, but a lot of people complain that, at least for the last couple of seasons, we've only signed relegation fodder. It's a word I've heard thrown around in a lot of shows on Twitter and everything. But then as soon as there's a rumor that we're, potentially looking at Rodrigo, whether or not it's true, people are like, why are we wasting time going for Rodrigo? Like, we're not on their level, but you have to aspire to be that level, I think, personally. And I'm not sure if Leao or Rodrigo will be the player, but I feel like maybe they're a smokescreen for, a not maybe a player not quite on their level, but like a solid replacement who's done well for, a few years, is still fairly young, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but there are players out there, I'm sure. And as long as it's not some, lastminute.com Premier League experience, like personally, I don't want Jack Grealish. I feel like it's 5 years too late. And I saw, I mentioned in the group about Jack Grealish and Maddison, and as much as they're friends, I do worry that Grealish would be not a great influence on Maddison because of his lifestyle, and we need leaders. And I feel like bringing in Grealish, look, maybe he would be a great leader. He seems like a really nice guy, But I just feel like, well, to be fair, like I really wanted him before, but now I just feel like he's kind of over the hill in terms of what we need. And I think crucially for Grealish is he doesn't have any pace. No. And I feel like we desperately need pace. We've had a few years where we've kind of lost like all our pace, like Lucas Moura and Son. And obviously, now Son's gone. So you're left with a couple players like Tell and Odobert who don't really have much experience between them to consistently perform. And obviously, we're going to need options to play across the 4 or 5 competitions. But I just think that pace is a really important thing for us. I really wanted Mbeumo, but what can you do? I really wanted Cunha, but what can you do?
What can you do? That's true. That is true. Not bad pickings at all. Tequila, look, we did the game. I did the game Saturday. I know you watched it, and we were getting murdered down the left side with Ben Davies at left back.
Yeah.
You look at our defense, right-sided, we're fine, but we're not left-sided. So how would you, if you had the chance to address our defense, what would you do?
I think we need a proper left back, a left-footed left back. It depends how Frank wants to use his full-backs, but maybe I'm being traditionalist, but I'm thinking overlapping, putting crosses into the box. That's how I see it. So I want a left-sided, a left-footed left back. I think a good shout, I can't remember where I heard it mentioned before, but a good shout is the chap from Fulham, who I believe would be about 40 million or so, I think the quote was. And he would most likely accept it because, let's be honest, all due respect to Fulham, we are a jump up from them. So if we could get him in, I think that would be a good shout to challenge Ndogi. That would be my pick. And I think it's doable as well. 40 million. Can I see Levy doing that? He'd probably rather it was nearer the 30. So you might have to use some wiggle room. But I think, so people, I agree, Adam. Yeah. Robinson is consistent. He's a good player. I don't think he's not a world beater. That's why he's going to be 40 million. But I think for that price, I don't think there's a massive difference in quality. And that's what we all want, right? We want 2 players in every position of similar quality so they can actually, push each other. Iron sharpens iron and all that. So I think that would be a good shout. I think we're okay on the right, assuming that Jed Spence is used as a right back, even though, as some people say in the chat, they think maybe he's better as a left back, which is a bit strange for me. But I think you can keep Spence as a right back. So I think the left back, I think we're okay at centre half, assuming nobody leaves. If Dragosin leaves, then we need somebody to come in as, I suppose, the 4th choice centre half, with Danzo being the 3rd choice. That's how I see it anyway.
Well, you've got Taki there, haven't you? Who's out injured, but I think he's due back soon.
He's unproven. So I'm kind of like, you can give him some minutes, or I don't know if the kid's going to go out on loan, or you give him some minutes, but to just throw him in like that, that seemed a bit harsh. But you never know.
The talk of Kingsley going out on loan, do you think? I think it's a load of rubbish, but what's your sort of reckoning around that? Do you think it's just rubbish and he's staying? Do you think Tottenham would shoot themselves in the foot if they did do that?
His profile doesn't match what I would consider to be a backup keeper, because I think he's at the age. I mean, you just talked about Austin. You don't want Kinky doing that, do you? You don't want him sitting around not getting any games for the next 5 years. So I think he actually does need a loan, but I don't want Austin to be our backup either, Dermo. So that means we need to bring in another one.
Yeah,
who wants to be a backup? We had Forster, didn't we?
On that,
a backup to the backup to the backup.
Sorry, mate.
I said if he goes out on loan, I'd love to get Ortega from City, just for a year on a year's loan. You got them two fighting it out. He gets his year's experience. And then next year you're not signing another goalkeeper and blocking the pathway. So he's available because they've just signed Trafford. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But Spurs don't do a lot of sense signing, so it probably won't happen.
So
we've saw another player.
Yeah, go on.
We should raid City for. I think if you can get. So we've heard from Frank saying that he's happy with his fullback situation, right? They're not going to go and sign another fullback. What if we go to City, offer them like 20 million plus like 5 million add-ons for Nathan Ake? So I feel like, he's been in the Premier League for a long time. He's not my first choice. And I agree with you, Tequila. I actually really like Robinson as well.
Yeah.
But if they're saying they're not going to go out and sign an out-and-out left back and they want another centre-back, then I feel like you could do worse than signing Ake. Someone with probably 10 years Premier League experience now. He's 30, so you wouldn't want to overpay for him, but he's going to come in and be a very reliable, left-sided centre-back and also cover for the left-back, so that you're not forced to play Ben Davies. I mean, he's basically a much better Ben Davies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think anyone's better than Ben Davies, to be fair. I mean, it's shocking that he's the only one left of our Champions League final squad still there. And he's outlasted Sonny. He's outlasted Kane. It's just shocking. Look,
the thing is, with that left back, you mentioned Levy doesn't. Again, I'm talking about the age thing. He ain't going to pay it for a 30-year-old, bro.
But like 20 million though, I feel like that's like
But this is what I mean. This is because Levy's he is. We know that he is. He's so reluctant to do stuff like that. Yeah, you're right. 20 million. It's not that much even in today's world. But for Daniel Levy, it's going to be like, well, I can't ever flog him. If I buy him now and I want to sell him in 2 years, he'd be 32. I'd be lucky to get a quarter of my money back. This is what I believe he looks at. He sees them as assets. He can't help it because he's a businessman first. He sees them as assets first. Firstly, it's assets. So he's covering the risk reward. So he's in his mind, I believe it's going to be like, well, hold on a sec. If this guy is a failure, what am I going to, and he's been burned on this as well by Ndombele, right? He's been burned on this heavily by that transfer. I tell you, the fact that he got no money back after paying 65 million for that player, whatever it was, it's made him even more risk evasive when it comes to buying players. Kudos is not a risk, not really, because the chances are, not only has he got a good record, chances are we'll probably get most of our money back. Mostly, the worst case scenario, we'll probably get a good chunk of that money back. Should he flop, we'll get a decent chunk back still. Someone like that, there's no resale value. It's the reason why I don't think that we'll go for Wisa. It's the reason why Paulinho is a loan and not a transfer. I think it's all the same reason. He doesn't spend these monies on 30 pluses because he can't get his money back. It's too much of a risk. That's how I think he sees it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Listen, Luke, before we get to you, I know you might have to go off and do something, so I would do the channel sponsor. Let you go and do that, and then you can come back and then sort out our midfield, and then we'll probably end off there because that will be the hour. Guys, we'd like to announce another year of our great sponsor, Private Internet Access. Your only place to pick up your best VPN in town that knocks out all the 3 p.m. kickoffs, where you can watch everything from American Netflix. You can go out traveling around the world and be secure in your banking as well. Tequila is probably one of the best deals out there at the moment, isn't it? Ready for private internet access?
Yeah, it's half the price of
VPNs.
Half of the price of most of the other ones, guys, and they all do pretty much the same thing. So why pay double?
Yeah. Well, you don't hear us talk about it. You do want to hear Colin talking about it. He is the VPN man. So here is Colin telling you about our channel sponsor. Again, for the 25-26 season, they are sponsoring this channel. So do hit the link below. But of course, you want to hear the star of the show. And here's Colin talking about private internet access.
Let me talk to you. A little reference there. But I'm going to stop messing about. I'm going to talk to you about private internet access, the best VPN in the land. Now, when you're online, you may not realize, but all of your data is there for the taking by anybody. With a VPN such as private internet access, your data is safe and secure, streamlined, and nobody else can get hold of it. That's why I use one anyway. VPN's very easy to use. Private internet access, all you got to do is log on your phone. Select where you want to be. So I want to be in America, and I click go, and there we are. You can also link up your devices to it from your phone if that is easier for you. It's available on a lot of platforms as well. As you can see, and you can use it for a very, very big range of things. So that's even better as well. You can use it, like I said, on all your devices, smartphone, tablets, gaming consoles, and stick it on your modem. And it's unlimited devices. One equals all. It's available all across the world, and it works perfectly. What they do is they mask your IP address, so pesky 3 o'clock kickoffs aren't an issue anymore, and they're independently audited, so there's no logs, 30 million customers, and 4.5-star Trustpilot rated excellent review. Private internet access. Get yours now.
And yes, guys, it is worth, I think it's €42 for 2 years plus 4 months free. The prescription is below, so do hit the prescription if you can. Luke, midfield. Now, Sam sorted out the strikers. Tequila's worked out how we're going to save our defense. It's your job now to sort out our midfield. If you were in the midfield, what do we need to make our midfield better for this season?
I'm not saying this is realistic, and I'm not sure it'll happen. But yeah. I think if we went and got Paqueta, I think that would completely change our midfield. If we had Paqueta and Palhinha in the midfield, again, I know it's another West Ham player, but I think if you stomped up the money, and again, I know obviously we're doing this, but it depends on how much money you've got, right? If you've only got 100 million. Then you may say, look, we'll just have to, unfortunately, we won't have a defender. We're just going to have to go in here. So it might mean one player you go for, it means you miss out on another. So, but I think Paqueta would change it for us. I think you've got Palhinha is obviously very defensive minded. So I don't think he's going to need to be as good defensively as what we potentially would have wanted. And I think he's got a bit of bite. He's got a bit of creativity. He's versatile in terms of he could play a bit further forward, maybe in the 10. He would be the one that I'd be really, really targeting. And I think it's not 100, like Adam Wharton, for instance, probably 100 million. So how realistic is that? I think price-wise, wage-wise, I think we could get him if we really wanted to. It's just whether West Ham would do business for a second player.
What do you reckon to that, Tequila? Would you be happy with Paqueta coming to Tottenham?
Yeah, I mean he's got his baggage, but he was proven to be innocent, so you have to say okay. But then Basuma had baggage when he came to us as well. Actually, that's a bad example considering that Basuma set the world on fire. But yeah,
and
I
balloons.
think that's a good. Yeah, he's the IQ. I think it's around about. Luke, about 45 million, I've heard.
Yeah. I think around the 45 to 50 million mark. I think would get him over the line. And so, Morgan Gibbs-White deal.
That's what I mean. So we should quote unquote have the money for him. The thing is that if we were to spend that on him, we probably won't have enough to get the striker I think we all really want. Because that would be, you're looking at what. Don't even ask me who, but it's going to be another 55 or so, surely 50 million. I'm not sure we've got 100 million left. I'm not sure we do. Whether or not we should have, that's a different argument. But I'm not sure that we will be spending 100 million in the next.
Well, Son brings in a bit. Obviously, we have to have some other outgoing. Solomon probably brings in your 10, 15, something like that. You would imagine if we do go and get that striker, Richie probably leaves in some way or another. So I think that you've potentially got that there, and obviously there'll be some loan bits and pieces, and you might get a bit of money here and there. So Basuma, he also might be one that leaves. So I thought our budget would be around the £200 million mark this year, including a few players leaving, which might boost that up a little bit.
So you're including sales as well. So
that I mean, well, Levy might not want to include them, but for me, when you're turning around and trying to change a team, you have to include everything. And I thought we would have probably about £100 million to spend, and then you add on what we would sell as well. And Son, as I say, Son's gone. You would imagine Basuma, Richarlison, he'll probably get you a few million. Solomon, we should be getting in. Nearly 100 million, I would hope for with getting rid of them. So, but as I said, you're exactly right. If you've only got 100 million and you want to go and get that striker, then all of the other positions, it depends on where you go with it. That's why the Walton deal, I like Walton. I think Walton's a top player, but if someone said to me, right, you can go and get Walton and you get nothing else, or you go and get a Ake, you go and get a Paqueta, you go and get a Grealish on loan. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go and get all of these players for that 100 million, then I think it's better spent elsewhere. So, but I think Paqueta would do a lot of the stuff Morgan Gibbs-White would have done for us. I think he would offer as well, and a bit of bite as well. I like that in a player.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question then. I think I already know Sam's response to this because he's already touched upon him. But would you take Grealish on loan to cover the emergency number 10? Because I don't think we were planning on getting a 10.
Obviously, I would.
And the rest goes on the proper striker. Would you accept that?
Yeah, so I was on a stream when the Grealish deal kind of came through and was first mentioned, and I was like, absolutely not. 300 grand a week, like 45 million, probably even 35 million, absolutely not. But then there was talk of Everton and West Ham taking him on loan, and I was like, well, hang on a minute. If we can get him on a loan deal, West Ham and Everton are not paying 250 grand. They're probably paying like 200 grand. So essentially, you get rid of Werner, you add 25k, and you get Grealish. So for me, and the 10, I agree. I think we probably need a bit of pace on the wing. So Grealish could then cover that 10 position. So again, it's about a priority sort of situation. And I think that we need a winger / forward more than we need anything else. And if you can get Grealish, it's a stopgap, no doubt. But it could also be like, I know what you're saying. He does bring some negatives, 100%. But it could also be Oda Bertel they're the future. Give them another year. They're learning under a player that, from all intents and purposes, he's brilliant in terms of training and all of that. It's not that's the problem. It's more like the drinking and bits and pieces. But he's also a winner. And it might be, if you took a lot of the good stuff from Grealish, you could end up improving yourself as a player. And we can also focus on other areas, which I think we desperately need. So I'm not complete again. It wouldn't be my star number one signing for sure. But I think if that come in as an option on a loan, then I would definitely consider that.
For me, Grealish, look, he offers you something different. And I think that's what Grealish does offer you. He offers you something different on that wing. He can play in the cam role and he can play in the left side. He's a very talented individual. Yes, I'll call him a traitor. Yes, because he left Ireland to play for England. And I've always said it. I think he took the easy way out choosing England because I think it's more of a easy option to qualify for a World Cup or European Championships for England than it is for Ireland. We don't qualify for many tournaments. You guys, 9 times out of 10, you'll qualify for Euros or World Cup. We haven't qualified for a World Cup since 2002 and the European Championships, I think, since 2016. So it's not hard for us. But I like him at Spurs. I think he offers you that bit of... He gains an awful lot of free kicks and penalties by the way he does attack the fullback, and that's what you want. Guys, we're going on to the last question of the show, and I really have enjoyed this. I'll get you to plug your channels after it as well. Tequila, I want to ask this 2 simple questions, right? If we don't improve on the transfer window and we start the season of what we've got, what would your expectations be for the season? But if we did get another 3 players in, what would your expectation be then?
Does the quality of the 3 players matter, Dermo?
It could be anyone.
Anyone?
Yeah, it could be anyone you think, anyone
Okay.
you think that will improve where you want us to improve.
I'll answer with the current squad. I've said 9th, so I think 9th.
Yeah.
But you could say between 8th and 12th, I suppose. Hopefully
Yeah.
not 12th, but I couldn't see us probably getting into Europe at a pinch. Perhaps a Conference League with our current squad, but I think that's being optimistic.
Yeah.
The cups, it's hard to predict the cups, Dermo. You get Liverpool away in the first round and you're out. Champions League, if we get through the group, if we can get to the second round and we get to be to the knockouts, that would be incredible, I think, with our current team. So I probably wouldn't expect us to do that, considering some of the teams we could be up against. It depends who we draw, and it depends, obviously, who's home and away and all that stuff. If we got the 3 players we needed, I think that European qualification, just about. Are not top 4. I think that is well beyond us, even with 3 or 4 players. I do think that's beyond us this season. But maybe 6. I think we could be fighting Newcastle and Villa with the right players brought in.
Yeah.
For those 5th to 7th kind of area, and get into the knockout round of the Champions League. If we got 3 or 4 players, that's as optimistic as I can be, Prof.
Yeah, look, for me, I think I've been looking a lot of it, and I've been looking a lot of it today, and I probably have to agree with you. If I'm being blatantly honest, I think, look, I'm always optimistic. We're going to finish top 6, top 7, but the longer this gets on, the more that my enthusiasm and my sort of deluded way that I think as a Spurs fan is being blown out of me. And I think here we go again, another tough season. But look, the window isn't over. There's 24 more days to go. So look, I get what you're saying, but I'm sort of more at the moment. I'm probably more leaning to where you're seeing things. If we get a few players in, then I'm off then out of the rocket and then up to deluded land, where I think we might just win everything. Luke, I will get back to you in a minute, Tequila, and you can plug your channel. Luke, same question to you. With the current squad, where do you think, what's your expectations? And then if you get 3 players in that you think will improve the squad, what's your expectations there?
I've always kind of said that I think top 8 is where we should be aiming for, a sort of a minimum. However, losing Maddison for that period of time, and if we don't make any signings, Kulu obviously being out as well, then I think you're looking at probably top 10. Is probably there or thereabouts, to be honest. I do think that with so many teams playing in Europe for the first time, I think that we could see some teams really drop down the league and almost be like 12th and 13th, and we're thinking, hang on, they're really a top 8 team. So I do think there's a lot of that. But yeah, this team isn't good enough in certain areas for sure. So I'd probably say top 10. I think in the Champions League, it's very much who you draw. But I think if we're not at least fighting to get through to the next round, then something's quite wrong, because I think 4 of the teams we played in the Europa League are in the Champions League. So there's a huge, obviously, difference in terms of the ones better than us, but there's also a huge gap between the ones that are not as good as us as well. So I think we should at least be fighting to get into that next round. If we make the signings, then, well, listen, top 4 is out of the question. You look at the top 4 teams, they're so far above everyone else. I think you was exactly right in terms of Villa and Newcastle were the ones. So many caveats. If Newcastle end up losing Isak and don't sign anyone, because everyone seems to be rejecting them. I even had an offer and I've turned it down. So if they keep going through that period, then I would fancy us to kind of be challenging them. So yeah, it's absolutely pivotal. We need to make some signings as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, if we get a few through the door, then top 6 should be the kind of where we're fighting, I would hope.
And Sam, for you?
I think initially, like when the season ended, and Frank was announced, I was thinking that, I'd be happy with, 8th, kind of maybe between 8th and 6th. I agree with you. I think that the top 4 at the moment kind of picks itself. Depending on the order, you've got Liverpool, City, you got Chelsea, and you got Arsenal. As much as you hate to admit it, like that's probably the top 4 next season. It just is a question of which way, or if someone goes through some crazy injury crisis, which is obviously possible. And then I mean, look, as you said, all these players that Newcastle were getting rejected by, they need to strengthen. I look at their attack, and you can name 4 attackers for them. They've just let go of Wilson, so you can name Harvey Barnes, Isak, who might be gone, Murphy, and Gordon. So literally 4 players. I couldn't name you another like attacking player they have, unless you're going to like repurpose Willock or something, right? But so again, with them being in Europe, with Nottingham Forest being in Europe, I don't expect Nottingham Forest to sustain it, and I'm fingers crossed that they don't, because they've just become it's not a rival thing. They've just become a pain. They're commenting, they're like trying to banter us in comments, and oh, what have you guys won? You win 1 trophy, you guys should shut up. It's like, come on, lads.
Don't start, Sam. Not with that one fella. Don't. He winds me up chronic.
It's like, so it's just it's like the same with Villa. Like Villa and Nottingham Forest. They feel like they're on our level straight away. And look, we're not like the best club in the world, don't get me wrong, but we've consistently been around that top 6 for the last 10 years, and these teams have had, 2 seasons and they want to come and chat to us. But I feel like Villa and they weren't, but I felt like they weren't amazing last year. I know they still ended up like almost getting Champions League, but I feel like they could have been better. They had a few wobbles. And I guess that's also with Europe. Obviously, it'll be slightly easier in the Europa League for them, and that could be something that they genuinely go for. And who knows, maybe it will become a common thing to deprioritize the league. But I think that we definitely need to sign at least 2 more players that come in immediately to the first team. Not another Odegaard type signing. Not another 15-year-old that can't sign for us for another 3 years. Those are all well and good, but you can't do that every year. At some point, you have to build your class, right? So to just continuously add young kids. When are these other kids ever going to get a chance to mature underneath someone who's nurturing them to, get the experience that is required? We've seen us move away from this, or potentially move away from this young signing thing this window. Kudus is, I think, 24. Obviously Palhinha's 30. If we're going to sign Grealish, he's 30. So it's clear they have some sort of idea what they're doing, but whether I'm confident that they'll be able to pull it off, I'm not sure. But the one thing I will say is, and I've said it before, our squad was just by no means a 17th place squad last season. Like, I think people kind of get caught up in the emotion of it all, and they're like, this player's crap, that player's crap. They're not good enough. They've been here too long, blah, 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 blah. But they were all playing within themselves, whether that was, a mental thing, whether it was a system thing. Like, you can choose. I know what I think, but I just think that Frank will get a lot more out of the team. And if we can provide him some decent players for the first team, then I'd be fairly happy. And I hope that, I don't expect them to win a trophy, but I would hope to see at least one semi-final next year, even if we lose it. I just want to see one semi-final in anything. It doesn't matter.
Semi-finals of the Super Cup. No, we might win that. That'd be a trophy. We're good on with that. Guys, look, please be nice in the chat. Everyone respect any other people's opinions. We may not all agree on it. Me and Dakili don't agree on Levy, but we respect each other and we respect our opinions. So, if we can do it here on air, and that we've agreed sometimes to disagree with opinions, you lads can do it in the chat as well, you guys and girls. If it does continue, then we will time people out, and then we will. If it keeps going on, then we will take stronger action. Tequila, you have a wonderful gaming channel. Do you want to tell people about it and where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find it. It's called The Play Pouch, and it's just a bunch of middle-aged gits who enjoy gaming. So we are quite a fussy bunch. There was Alien Isolation on the channel the other night. There was some Gears of War 5. I'm not sure what's coming up next, but yeah, please join us and for some good old-fashioned games. Cheers, guys.
And Tequila, do put your link in the chat as well. We do have your link here, Luke, for your channel, Spotlight on Spurs. tell people about it and where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, so relatively new to YouTube, kind of just joined a couple of months ago, just to kind of voice my own opinion. Go live every Thursday, 9:30 p.m. UK time, just having a chat, all things Spurs. Everyone knows what it's like. 1 week in Spurs can feel like a lifetime. So an array of subjects. Felt like I felt like I talked about Morgan Gibbs White for about 4 years. I thought the signing of Leonardo Di Maio and players like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, but yeah, go live once a week. Got the odd video that pops up as well, and yeah, just a nice chilled chat amongst pals about all things Spurs.
Yeah, do get over it. It is a great channel. Have been watching it from afar. Luke, you do a big job over there. So well done and keep it going. And thanks for coming on. It's really been a pleasure having you on. And Sam, look, I've been trying to get you on for a while. So I've now finally got you on. I will come back into the EFC team. I've done my preseason. I'm now ready for action. I'm ready to be sent off within 2 seconds of starting the game to help you guys get promoted. Very quickly, what do you think of the FC 26? I think it looks good, actually.
I mean, it's very much this whole, exactly what we've been talking about, this whole thing. We've got big promises, and we just need to see if they deliver now, because this was by far the worst FIFA I've ever played, and I've been playing since like 2006, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, hands down worst game ever. But you know, so I'm obviously excited. I always say I'm not going to get it, but it's like kind of the only game I really play, other than I've been sort of getting into Fortnite because my brother lives in America and he's like very into shooters, and Fortnite's less intense than like a Call of Duty where people have been playing for like 100 years, you know. But yeah,
Where can people find you though, sir? Where can people find you? A great guest again. Thanks for coming on as well, Sam. You've been fantastic tonight. Please, where can people find you?
No, thanks for having me. I mean, I was going to say I don't have a channel because I look at the work ethic of people like Dermo, you know, the Irish Hotspur, and I'm just like, that just could never be me. It just seems like so much, obviously worth the grind, but I just love football, you know. I just talk about football. I don't need to have my own channel like I'm on Twitter, Spurs Undercover. I posted a long Son tribute, you know, for what felt like a fallen hero of my childhood. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to try and get out to LA at some point before he retires, just to see him one more time run out. Although I'm sure that they'll do a testimonial. But I mean, on there mostly I'm just arguing with bots, I guess. But follow me over there, and you can find me potentially here again. You can find me on the Irish Hotspur.
Yeah, definitely. Big up Sam, big up Luke, and big up Tequila as well. You know, the shame wouldn't be the same without Tequila. And big up to you, Luke and Sam, for making it a great conversation tonight. Guys, that is it. I am back on tomorrow at 5 with Before the Whistle, and then the watch along at 5:30 for us against Bayern Munich, and then at 8 o'clock. On at 8 o'clock, I think 8 or 8:30, with instant match reaction. Guys, if you can follow me tomorrow, I'm making my debut on We Are Tottenham TV on their pop-up show at 4. So please do follow me over there. A bit nervous, being last time I went on there, didn't have the greatest of times, but they invite me on again, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm making my debut on there tomorrow, so do join me for that. Tequila, Luke, Sam, thank you all very much again. Thank you all to the members who have come into the chat as well. I want to shout a big shout out to Josh, big shout out to Kuva as well. Big up to Josh for coming a new member, and as well a few members that are in the chat. If you're wondering, guys, where I got my Spurs shirt from, no, it's not a legit Tottenham shirt. I got it from a website called Cool Gear 66. I bought 3 Tottenham shirts for €95. So this is I've got the new home tip top, and also got the away top and the third kit from last year. I'm getting the 2 other home and away, the away and the third kit for this year. But guys, I will put that link in the members area as well for you guys. So if you don't want to pay Levy any money, you can get your Spurs stuff elsewhere. Just don't go for a 3XL, because even this is too big for me, which is quite surprising because I come all the way from China. But anyway, on that bombshell, we'll leave it there. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. Come on, you Spurs, and big Thomas Frank we trust. Go on, Tequila, take us out.
See we are, mate.